we didn't have a surplus of money. If you wanted it, you had to get it yourself. And my mom raised three kids as a single mother, and she did everything she could and gave us the best life possible. But if we wanted that extra T-shirt or that new bag or wanted to go to a concert, we had to pay for it ourselves. So it definitely like sparked that hustle, and not just me, but like my brother and my sister. So I'm very, very, very thankful for like the way that it turned me into as like a hustle and like learning how to grow a business, and like I want to be able to live a happy and fulfilling life, and found out quickly that like money wasn't a deciding factor, that like you could grow up anyway, and then as long as you have family and stuff, that's what's going to make me happy. So who are you and what do you do? So my name is Christian Meskanick, and I am the owner of the Closet PGH, a vintage store located in Bellevue, PA, and newly formed Summit Promotions Group. Talk to me about the closet. Where and how did it start? Where is it today? So the closet started like originally, I would say in like 2021, but it goes back much further than that. I started when I was 14, before I could get a job, a worker's permit. I started selling stuff around the house. So basically t-shirts and then some shoes, and then my mom took me to the thrift store, and that was like the big thing. So I started selling like new clothing, and then I saw a video on YouTube that was basically like, oh, like vintage clothing is popular, like becoming popular, like here's what to look out for. And then the big turning point with that was when I found a Michael Jackson T-shirt for $1, and then I listed it. And then the next morning I woke up and I had like 100. It listed it for like 150, 120 bucks. I had like $110 in my PayPal account. And at like 15 years old, that was like a lot of money. And I was like, oh my gosh, like there's potential. So it grew over the years. Kept doing pop-ups. I would sell online, and then eventually the opportunity came during college, basically. I should say right after college. I was going to BC3 for business, and I really liked it. And then the pandemic hit, and I quickly learned that I was not like an online person, like doing schoolwork that way. Like I love to talk to the teacher, be there, be present in class, but like online wasn't my thing. So I was like, I'll take a year off. I'll continue to work my retail job at Target, and then I'll try and grow the business. So then about maybe like the second year, like 1 year after the pandemic, my brother's business was starting to take off. So he moved out of his current retail store, and then the basically the spot was available for 18 months. So I was like, hey, let me sublease it. Like worst comes to worst, I fail, and that was 5 years ago. So now the closet is in a much bigger location. I've since moved out of there. I've got to meet incredible people, some famous, some athletes, and all around, just like general people, like genuine people that come to the store every single day. So the growth of the last 5 years has been tremendous. I'm very very thankful for that. So it's been a journey.
Can I ask you to talk about your promotional?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So basically, like I just formed it this over this last year, but it's called Summit Promotions Group. So basically, um, it's gonna be like a social media management, social media consultation, and event hosting group slash company. So basically, like over the years, I've learned the ups and downs of social media, and I know that I can like help other businesses. That's a big thing. I love to help other people, and it's like people have already asked me for advice on it, but I was like, if I can turn it into a company and like make it bigger, I may as well. And then the other thing is like starting to throw EDM shows and other events like that, because there's definitely a lack of EDM shows in Pittsburgh compared to other cities that have a much smaller population. So I just see it as room to grow in Pittsburgh. So I'm very excited for that. Don't have anything like on the books yet, but I'm very excited to get that going now. Right after, pretty much after Q4, after the busy time of this closet, that's when I'm gonna start going at that. So, but it's still very fresh, just formed. What do you love most about what you do? So personally, I love like the person to person interactions, like going back to like not going to school anymore because it was online. I was like, I love to be in person. I love to talk. So meeting people on a daily basis is like the big thing. Just having genuine conversations. Like I have people that have found us through Instagram that will fly to Pittsburgh for a Steelers game, and the first destination they'll Uber to the store, and they're like, oh my gosh, like like this place is amazing. Like hearing that means a lot. Or one of the other cool parts is like when I get to connect a piece of clothing to someone, they're like, oh my gosh, like my dad wore this in the 90s, or like, yeah, I have photos like in this shirt and I lost it, or like, and being able to like connect a piece of clothing to someone's like history, it's very fulfilling. I like I like making that like connection with people. Like at the store, I really emphasize on like customer interactions, and then rather than just being like, "Hey, get your clothing, get out of here." Like, what's your name? Like, what do you like? Like, are you out on the hunt for anything? Like, getting to know them is the best part about what I do. I would say. What is your mission? My mission, honestly, like it started as like, all right, I'm just gonna like create a business, and then like not like I was done going to school and I wanted to make money, and then it became so much more than that. Like the whole secondhand industry, like I realized like how impactful it is, and like going back to it, like giving people that piece of clothing that they might have once had, or that their parents had, and like reusing it and recycling that piece of clothing is the big thing. So like my mission is like with the closet is connecting pieces to people, whether it's fresh to them or whether it connects to an old memory. And then with Summit Promotions Group, my mission is definitely to help businesses grow, and to bring people together via live events and whatnot. So, what is your long term vision for the closet? Honestly, I don't have more than like a 5 year plan right now with the closet. I'm much more. I am a planner, but I'm much more of like a day to day, like month to month person. Obviously, I would like to grow it to maybe to another retail store. But the one thing I'll say is like that it's hard to replicate like what we have there. Like I don't want it to be like a chain or anything like that, because like I like to be heavily involved with the business myself. As much as I want to just like open a bunch of stores, I think like growing the online presence is really big as far as like the website and the social media, and making it like a destination store. So with the closet, I want to grow it like as much as possible, but I don't want it to turn into like a massive chain or anything like that. Some people have aspirations for that, but that's not me. So can you talk to me about your upbringing? What was your childhood like? Yeah, so I definitely have like a different, I don't say childhood than some people that grew up with me. But my parents got divorced at a young age, and then ended up living with my mom, for most of it. And God bless her, she's a single mother raising three kids. So I don't say it was rough growing up, but we didn't have it like a lot of my friends did. Being from Mars, which is a lot of my friends lived in big houses, and their parents bought them cars, and it was versus me and my family. We had, I don't say, limited resources. There was nights where we didn't have much, but we did have each other. Is really the big thing. um and it definitely, like, not growing up with a ton of money and whatnot, it definitely like sparked some ambition and like hustle into me and my brother. For instance, me starting to thrift at 14 before I could get a job. I realized like if I wanted something, like my mom, God bless her, she might not be able to afford it, so I got to buy it myself. Or so that's really sparked like my hustle and upbringing. But I didn't have a bad childhood at all. I had a great childhood. I'm very, very thankful for the way that everything panned out. But yeah,
So
yeah.
do you think that's where your love for secondhand clothing came from?
Definitely, definitely, because it was like, I was looking for something to do, looking for ways to make money. I was cleaning a couple pairs of sneakers, to start for $20, and then when I found that vintage T-shirt, I was like, wait, this is cool. So like, someone donated this, and then now I'm buying this and I'm selling it for more. It was just like very, very fascinating to me, like the whole thrift industry, because I actually did start a clothing brand in high school called Lucid Threads, and it was mildly successful. But I wasn't fulfilling like vintage was. Like, yeah, it was cool to get a design and sell it out on a t-shirt, but like the vintage is just like more fulfilling as far as like the reuse recycle aspect to it. It's giving a piece a second life versus just making another t-shirt on a gilt and blank. So that's definitely like when I was younger, like that's what sparked it, was the second hand. That was one thing that's been consistent through my whole life as far as like hustles. And obviously I worked, since when I was 15. I got my first job like 2 weeks after my birthday. But even when I was working, I was focusing on, thrifting. Even though it wasn't that many pieces, it literally started out of my closet. It was always there and consistent for me.
Oh.
So, how did it shape who you are today? Um, I want to say, like, going back on it, like it definitely like started that hustle, because like we didn't have a surplus of money, so it was like kind of like one of those things where it's like if you wanted it, you had to get it yourself. And like my mom raised three kids as a single mother, and she did everything she could and gave us the best life possible. But if we wanted that extra T-shirt, or that new bag, or wanted to go to a concert, we had to pay for it ourselves. So it definitely like sparked that hustle, and not just me, but like my brother and my sister. So I'm very, very, very thankful for like the way that it turned me into as like a hustle, and like learning how to grow a business, and like being like, I don't want to, I want to be able to live a happy and fulfilling life, and found out quickly that like money wasn't gonna, like money wasn't a deciding factor, and like you could grow up anyway, and then as long as you have family and stuff, that's what's gonna make me happy. So if your younger self was here with us right now, what would you say to him? I would say keep on hustling, because like keep trying, because I don't think that, like, I made a business plan in 10th grade, but it was just a business plan. Like I didn't think that was going to be actually what was going to happen. Because I can remember being in high school, and then like my dad and my guidance counselor were like, you got to go to college, like if you want to be successful, and like I remember being scared, like, oh my gosh, like if I don't go to college, like I'm not going to be able to have like a good life and whatnot. And I'd never stopped hustling, but there's definitely times where it slowed down. As far as like the reselling business, I always had, like I said, I always had a job, but I would keep tell myself just like keep on going, keep doing your things, because if at first you don't succeed, like there's always next time. Worst comes to worst, you fail. That's what I always tell people. Just give it a shot. Chase your dreams. Don't let anyone stop you. If your future self was here, what do you think he would tell you to stop holding back? That's a good question. That kind of stumped me.
Do you
Like
feel like you're holding back at all?
I don't, like, I'm very like in the moment, like I'm very spontaneous, and I go with the flow, and like I don't really have reservations or limitations, I should say. Like I just, like, I'm kind of like, if I want something, I'm gonna go after it, and I'm gonna get it, like with it one way or another. Like I'm gonna make it work.
Okay.
Um,
So how about we reframe this question? What
okay.
would you ask your future self?
What would I ask my future self? Like, am I if my wildest dreams came true, what would I ask my future self? Like, am I still as kind, as humble, as, like, hopefully, as as genuine as I am? Like, hopefully I didn't lose. If my wildest dreams came true, I would still want my family to be in my corner, and that's the biggest thing for me. So to just make sure that, like, okay, I didn't change my ways, like I'm still authentic in the person I am before. As silly as that sounds.
I don't think that sounds silly.
I don't want like money or anything to change me, so I want to stay true to my values.
Huh.
What is the biggest lesson life is teaching you right now? Honestly, I would say it's like having the right people in your life. Like I have a social media following, I have a business, I know lots of people, but really finding out like who's actually like in your corner, and friends, and like separating like friends from mutual acquaintances to best friends to family. Because like to me, at like the end of the day, like no matter what happens, like family is everything to me, and like knowing who's true to you, and like who will stand for you, and who will not, whether it's friends or family. But making sure like that everyone is present in your life, and making sure that you have the right people in your corner, and that there's not a lot of, like, I don't say fake friends, but
What makes someone the right person to be friends with?
what makes someone the right person to be friends with? I would say like how they treat you, and how, if they stand up for you when your back is turned, are they gonna stand up for you, or are they gonna let someone like talk bad on you, and like just like how they're how they treat you. That's what I would say.
That's what you look for in friends.
Exactly. Yeah. Like big. Like I'm like, cause I'm very like I don't say emotional. Like I love, like I'm very like, I love, like I'm very like very kind, and like I love everyone, and that was like the big thing. I'm like I used to be like a big yes person, like just say yes to everyone and like help people out, and then sometimes when you would ask for that in return, people weren't really there, and then you do realize, like, who's in your corner and who's not. But to me, like making sure someone is right and treats you right. That's like the big thing. Like I forget what, like the golden rule, or whatever. Like treat each other as how you want to be treated. Like that's how I live by. So, what are you learning to love about yourself? Honestly, like my flaws. Like I should say, like, with social media, like me saying and like, for instance, like my hairline. My dad gave me this. Like, I'm not balding, but like, like my dad has the same hairline, and he's 60 years old. But like learning like to, like, especially with like what social media presents, like, most people have to be perfect. I mean, meanwhile, it's like that's not how it is behind the scenes. But being authentic with myself, and like learning to love my flaws. Like no one's perfect, and people will appreciate you no matter like what you bring to the table, as far as like what should be presented. So, learning to love my flaws. How has it felt to be seen in this way today? It's definitely been humbling, because, like I said, people know me like as like the closet, or like the vintage guy, and like the young vintage store owner or what. And like it's been humbling because like at first I was like, oh yeah, this is awesome, and then now I'm like, I want people to know me for like being authentic rather than being like just a vintage person. And like that I try to communicate like that through the storefront, like going back to in-store connections. Like, I have a lot more to offer other than a vintage clothing, like selling the experience, like making sure that everyone is taken care of, not just like on a clothing aspect, like how's your day going and doing all that, but making sure that like making sure that everyone's taken care of. So it's been a humbling experience, I would say. What's my biggest takeaway? My biggest takeaway is to step outside of your comfort zone. Like I'm very nervous to be here, but it was like one thing like when Ryan told me like about you, and like and I was like, you know what, like you reached out, and I was like, I typically don't do stuff like this, but I need to break out of my shell. I need to be comfortable in front of a camera, and just to be true to yourself and like step outside of it, because like yeah, I'm nervous, but I'm here and I'm doing it, and like I'm proud of myself.
It wasn't so
So
bad, right?
no, not at all, not at all. It wasn't bad at all. Any final thoughts? Yeah, just be yourself. Like step outside of your comfort zone. I'm very happy for this opportunity and thankful. Like I said, I was nervous, but it feels good that now I'm like, I'm like, okay, I'm doing it. It's not as bad as it seems. It's just like the same thing. So, but yeah, step outside your thoughts, be true to yourself, and have fun. So,
Thank you, Christian.
of course, thank you.